This video is brought to you by Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist, my new book, which is a comprehensive guide to all aspects of music theory necessary for playing rock guitar. From blues to the cycle of fifths, from understanding and using modes to choosing the right notes for a melodic solo, from pentatonic scales to chord construction and keys. It's all covered in a clear and concise manner. With accompanying video demonstrations, jam tracks and tabs, you'll learn to use the knowledge you gain in accessible ways that make sense for less than the cost of a few guitar lessons. Check out the link in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. That was me just having a little bit of fun over one of the jam tracks that I regularly use in my lessons. And what I like about that track is that there's a few it turns a couple of unexpected corners. There's a couple of borrowed chords in there and little subtle modulations. And if you have an understanding of what's happening and when it's happening, I find it helps you play over it a little bit more melodically, I think. And that is all relevant, you see, to today's video, because today being Wednesday, I'm dealing with viewers' questions. And, just before we get into it, I'll just remind you that if you have any questions of a guitar or music-related nature, then get in touch. You can see the website address there at the top of the screen, link in the description. Use the email form there and tell me what's on your mind. Or you can just use my email address, jrguitartuition@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below this or any of my other videos, and one chap did exactly that. And this was the comment that he left.
I've done very well without music theory.
Indeed, and now the video in question was my video a few weeks ago now, where I was talking about 5 recommendations for beginners guitars under £100. I can't remember, maybe I did make some kind of brief aside in that video to music theory knowledge or whatever, but it certainly wasn't the theme of the video. Certainly got our friend there a little bit riled up though, because he was motivated to tell us how well he's done without understanding what he's doing. So I couldn't resist. I replied to him, and here was my reply.
How do you know which fret to play a bar chord shape at to get the right chord? Unless you're guessing, you're using knowledge of music theory. Every time you know a note will sound wrong if you land on it, that's music theory too. If you write your own songs and know which chords work together and which don't, music theory again. Granted, you might not know the textbook terms which describe what you know, but you still know it. Too many people think that music theory is all about memorising jargon, or being bound by the rule book. All it is, in reality, is a way of quantifying what sounds good, and I bet you have more of an understanding of the topic than you realise.
To which he retorted,
"What's good for Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix is good for me, neither knew how to read guitar sheet music. All theory does will ruin your creativity, because now you only go by the book, no thanks, I'm good."
let's just unpack that a little, shall we? The first observation I would make is that perhaps punctuation and grammar might need to be a little bit more of a priority for some people than music theory. And secondly, the second thing that's apparent is that this chap obviously has a script, and he's going to stick to it no matter which way the discussion goes. For example, in my initial response, I was expressly made the argument that music theory isn't a rule book that tells you what you can't do. That's not what it's about. And he comes back with music theory stifles your creativity because then all you can do is play by the book. Well, again, you're not engaging in a discussion there. You're just parroting a script that you've got. And secondly, this whole idea that, Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix didn't know music theory. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. Well, I would argue rather that they did know what they were doing on the instrument. Music theory, all it is having an understanding of what you're doing. And, are we saying that Eddie Van Halen didn't understand what he was doing on the guitar? Are we saying that of Jimi Hendrix? Granted, they didn't read music. I don't really. I can, but it's like cracking the Enigma code for me. I'm not a sight reader at all. So, music theory isn't, about being able to sight read or read music. That's not what it's about either. All it is having an understanding of what you're doing. Whether or not you know the textbook terms that kind of describe that, the jargon and the terminology that, that people come out with. I mean, I had a pretty solid understanding of what I was doing on the instrument long before I knew what terms like flat ninth and mixolydian mode and cycle of fifths were all about. I kind of had that knowledge that those things described in a way that I'd picked up through experience and trial and error, but I didn't know the textbook names, as I say. That doesn't mean I didn't understand what I was doing, and music theory isn't about, memorizing jargon and filling your head with, as I say, rules. It's just about having an understanding of what you're doing, knowing, for instance, which fret to play a particular bar chord shape at to get a particular chord. That is based upon knowledge of the chromatic scale, the sequence of notes that you get as you move up the fretboard in 1 fret increments. If you don't know that, you can't play a bar chord at the right fret. That's music theory. Knowing which fret to play a particular lick at if you're soloing over a backing track in a particular key. Again, chromatic scale knowledge, knowing, how to transpose things. Maybe you learned a lick in B minor and you want to play it in a solo that's in D minor. Well, how far are you going to have to move it up the neck? Are you just going to guess? Or are you going to implement some kind of knowledge of, B goes up to C, C goes up to C sharp goes up to D, so therefore B, C, C sharp, D, you've gone up 3 frets, move the lick up 3 frets, and, that is music theory. This whole idea that, the great and the good, and you hear this with the Beatles all the time. The Beatles didn't know music theory. Well, I'm sorry, but you don't write a song with as many modulations in it as Penny Lane or, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds without having a solid understanding of what you're doing. I don't know whether John Lennon and Paul McCartney knew the textbook terminology again, there's that term again, whether they knew the chapter headings that described what they're doing, but they certainly knew what they were doing. And this is all music theory is. If you don't have this knowledge, then you're relying upon pure guesswork. And the idea that, to use this chap's example, that Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen, 2 of the kind of most iconic guitar players of all time, that they got to that status by only ever relying upon pure guesswork, I think is just... Well, the moment you say it out loud, it's obvious what a ridiculous notion it is, isn't it? That jam track that I was playing over at the top of the video, by the way, I mean, as I said, that has a few kind of subtle little modulations in there that where chords kind of get sort of borrowed from other keys and stuff like that, and those chords bring notes with them, because if you introduce, for instance, an A major chord into a piece of music in the key of G, then that A major chord gives you access to a C sharp note. knowing that is music theory, knowing that you can exploit that on the guitar to target a note as part of a lick. Again, it's music theory. This is all, to me, kind of quite self-evident. And as I say, the people like this chap that we're talking about here who just have this script that they parrot, that, you know, it's a rule book, it tells you what you can't do, it stifles creativity, and all the great guitar players didn't know it, and by implication they must have just been guessing their way through everything. I just needed to address those points, if you can call them that. Anyway, as usual, you will find a full tab for that solo at the that was at the front of the video, at the top of proceedings here. Full tab in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me playing the solo and the backing track I was playing along with as well. All of that is up on my Patreon page. There's the address, link in the description. $3 or £3 a month gets you access to all of the additional goodies and resources that go along with these YouTube videos, and a massive, massive thank you to everyone who supports me in that, or any of the other ways, all of which are downstairs in the description. And that is the video for today, folks. Hope this has been interesting and hopefully entertaining, and if that's the case, then please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday 5 PM UK time, where we drink beer and talk about music and guitars, and I suspect this week a little bit of music theory. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.